I was in Toronto when this movie premiered at TIFF, and I didn't get to see the movie because I didn't want to pay the exorbitant amount of money it would have cost to get a ticket. And so I finally got around to seeing this in January, and then I rewatched it a few nights ago during this whole sit down and watch a bunch of movie time in my life, and this is what I thought. Parasite. Parasite is a Korean film directed by Bong JoonHo, who did Snowpiercer, and that kind of put him on the map. And they did one called Okja in like 2017. I didn't see it. A friend of mine saw it, who I respect his taste on movies, and he said he loved it. So I need to get around to seeing that. And then he made Parasite. So Bong JoonHo has made quite the climb in American cinema. It's not an American movie. This is a Korean film. But yet, it really took American audiences by surprise, and they just loved it. Parasite is the story of a poor family. The son gets a job tutoring this really rich family, and because of that, he's able to get his sister in to be another teacher for the other kid, and the dad can be the driver, and they start infiltrating this rich family and kind of taking over their lives. Now, it's not what I thought it was. When I went into this movie originally, I thought this movie was going to be about them taking over and taking their identities, and all. It's not about that at all. This movie is about a really poor family taking advantage of a situation and just going with it. And they have a plan, but you don't really know where the plan ends. And one thing I love about this movie is the fact that it is a great build for the final act of the film. This is an interesting movie, and I think they do it very well. One of the hardest things to do in super intense movies is to build tension without jump scares and without things like that. This movie has none of that. It's all very well paced. The cinematography is beautiful. Probably my favorite thing about the movie is the cinematography. I mean, everything is like perfect angles, pans, and still shots. You don't have any handheld, maybe one shot or two like at the end of the movie, but most of the movie it's all very steady, traditional shots, and I loved that part of it. But the movie goes from being kind of this, you're not really sure, maybe more drama type movie, to the last act being a super intense thriller. And I love that it built you to that without bait and switching you and you're going, oh man, that's not what I want. It does it in a really good way. Unlike the movie Us that Jordan Peele directed that came out, I think that was last year as well, it didn't pay off in the end. That movie was building really good and they just went at the end. This one did the other, where it started lower and just built right to the end, and it had a great payoff, and I think that's what makes this movie so special. Another thing about the story that made it work was it was super simple and didn't try and do too much, didn't bring in all these twist endings and all that stuff. It had a few times where you're like, oh, that's genius, but it kept it simple, and it proved that you can make a great story without needing to complicate it. He took this very simple story. If you watch the movie, you go, oh yeah, that is pretty simple. I could have thought of that. But yet, there's so much detail put in every little thing, but yet it's not confusing. And I think that's super important, and that's why it works. And that's why I think American audiences loved this movie compared to a lot of other foreign films. Another thing Parasite did very well was the production design. This movie is beautiful, not only from the cinematography, but also the set design, the costumes. Everything about this movie is just real. I didn't think I was watching a movie, not once. There's some scenes where they're going down through the slums, I guess, of South Korea, and it's just beautiful looking. I mean, it's a mess, and it's nasty, and it's pouring rain, and it looks awesome. And I think that if 1917 hadn't come out this year, this movie would have won Best Cinematography. It didn't. It wasn't even nominated, oddly. Boy, it is a beautiful looking movie, and I think it kind of got overshadowed by flashier cinematography. Now, I do think 1917 definitely deserved the Oscar for Best Cinematography. And I will be coming out with a review for that. Make sure you subscribe if you want to watch my 1917 review, which will come out in a couple days probably. And the little thing I was thinking about that really surprised me, and it didn't really hit me till today, was that this movie didn't have much drama in it. It was a drama movie, but there wasn't stuff in the movie that you're just like, oh, that's why it's intense. Like, the dad isn't beating up on his wife or yelling at the kids. There's none of that. It's all very encouraging. Especially the poor family, and they're super encouraging of each other through this whole thing. I think that really was different. We don't see that. Usually poor families, one of the parents is abusive or just yells a lot, and you're just but in this one you feel bad for all of them, and you're rooting for all of them in their own way. And even the rich family, they weren't abusive or anything like that. They had their problems. It wasn't hard to watch. It wasn't drama for the sake of drama, and I loved that about this. Now, one of the things that this movie is getting praised so much for is the acting. Now, I have something to say about the acting because I personally cannot really tell good or bad acting if I don't understand the language. And if you start thinking about it, pay attention. Like, okay, I thought the acting was really good in Parasite, but if they had delivered dialogue crappy, I couldn't have tell. I worded that one wrong. If the dialogue was crappy, like I just spoke, then I wouldn't have been able to tell because I was reading subtitles and it all sounded good to me. So that's one area that we tend to forget about foreign films is that the dialogue, we are so separate from it, from knowing whether or not it's good or not. We don't know how well they delivered it. So I'm hesitant to say the acting was really good in this movie. I thought the acting was very well done and it fit the film great. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh man, the acting was excellent, because I don't know. I thought it was good. Just looking at them, they were great, but without being able to understand the dialogue, that's really hard for me to judge how good the acting is. Another thing that I think this movie maybe had a little too much of, and I wasn't a big fan of, was the class discourse, or the difference between the wealthy and the poor. That is a dead horse that's been beat so many times now. I don't want to see this anymore. It always portrays rich people as snotty and uptight and poor people as the oppressed. And I don't think that's true in real life. I think that you have both in both scenarios. I'm just kind of over that. I understand that was like really important for the movie. And of course it works, but that was just kind of like another one of these movies. That would be probably my least favorite thing about Parasite. Not a big complaint, and I think obviously it was part of the story, so it wasn't just thrown in there. It was obviously important, but I'm kind of over that at this point. And another thing I was going to say about foreign films is the audience that reacted to this movie was really interesting because they were acting as if this was the greatest movie since The Godfather. And I watched it and was like, this is a really good foreign film. I've seen other foreign films that were this good. Most people in America have not seen good foreign films. And so they saw this one, they connected to it, and they were like, yes, this is amazing. But they don't realize, man, you could go out there and watch 50 of those movies. So Parasite to me wasn't like great in the terms of all of movies. It was a really, really good movie, and I think it was a really, really good foreign film, but it wasn't the best foreign film I've ever seen. So I think that that's kind of something that people don't realize, is they've never seen good foreign films because they don't watch them. So they finally get around to watching one and they freak out. I'm like, yeah, go watch foreign films. You'll get a lot more of this kind of movie. It's good because it's opening people's eyes to foreign films, which is needed because foreign films are amazing. But I'm very glad it did win Best Picture. I'm not sitting here freaking out about it like Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Editing. That's one I still can't let go. And this did win Best Director. It did win Best Production Design, so I was very happy about that. The other thing it won was Best Original Screenplay. All those, I think it was deserving. Not necessarily my pick on all of them, but very deserving of all of them. And the only one it didn't win that it was nominated for was Best Editing. I think 1917 probably won Best Editing, I'm not sure. So overall, I thought Parasite was a great film. I think it's definitely a top 5 of last year, probably top 3 of last year. I am kind of coming out with my best of last year movies right now, and I'm going to put together my top 5 of the year. I don't want to do a top 10 because there weren't 10 great movies last year. So this is going to be on that list. Where would this rank in your best of last year, if it does at all? Did you even like it? Let me know in the comments below. Which movie would you like me to do next? I'm thinking about doing 1917. I still need to do The Irishman, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or maybe another one that you like. So let me know. I do like getting comments because it lets me know what you guys are liking and not liking about these videos. Please share and subscribe if you want more of these. And one last question, what is your favorite foreign film of all time? There's a lot of them out there. I think mine might be Roma's up there. I thought Roma was just so good. But maybe a Kurosawa film. Maybe Rashomon. I thought that one was very excellent. So let me know what's your favorite foreign film of all time. And as always, peace.